Take three.
Hello. I'll explain why I'm laughing in a minute, but welcome. We are with the amazing Marie McCleod, who I've had the pleasure of knowing for about 3 years, I think.
Yeah, about that.
We're going to be having a little chat today just about our lives, how Marie is making an impact on her local community, and how she is making an impact on her own life as well, and the ups and the lows that we all have in everyday life, so that you all know that everything that you always see on the screen isn't always how it is, and we're keeping it very, very real today, aren't we, Marie?
Oh, yeah. Oh, yeah.
Before we go into it, I'm just going to give a little intro. So I've got my little intro here. So Marie is the founder and project manager of Depression Changes Minds. She's also a parent coach and works with the local authority and mental health services and schools, and provides support and guidance for mental well-being and early intervention for mental health illnesses. Wow, that's an awful lot of stuff that you do, Mrs.
Yeah, there's a few hats. Yeah.
So thank you for joining me today. And like I said, we just want to keep it really, really real. So let's start with you. Okay, who is Marie?
Oh, Marie. Well, what, today or yesterday?
10 minutes later.
Yeah, exactly. So I'm a mum of two boys. They're 17 and 19. I've lived in the East End of London for 30 odd years now, on the same street actually.
Oh.
And and so I'm passionate about my community. I'm passionate about mental health, mental well-being, and kind of supporting those that really don't know where to go, feel quite lost and alone, because I think that not just with mental health, but we can feel that, and especially living in London, where you kind of get into your little bubbles, you just and it's a bit of a rat race here, so it's important for me to bring it back to kind of how my nan would describe the old East End. So my nan was from the East End, and she really was a community focused. My nan and my granddad community focused.
Yeah,
so
something about London, it is, people think it is very diverse, very cosmopolitan, but there is a massive sense of community in certain areas, isn't there?
Yeah,
especially the East End, unbelievable. Yeah. So that's really lovely that you want to keep that going.
Yeah, and I also live, like my house, I live in an old Victorian place, and it's got a blue plaque on the wall that was of Israel Zangwill, and he was a philanthropist.
Yeah.
And also on Old Ford Road was where the suffragettes had their office as well. So there's so much history around here, and I really feel like when I'm kind of, trying to get my energy going, I feel like I'm kind of really digging quite deep in the history of the energy that's gone on around and up and down this road and in my local community. So I try to dig quite deep into things like that when I'm not feeling so energetic. I just kind of, yeah.
And can I ask you, if we're talking about you to begin with, and obviously we'll talk more about your passion and how things have developed for you. So let's keep this really real. We've been trying to get this interview set up for a little while now, and for whatever you choose to call it, retrograde, just dodgy Wi-Fi, whatever you choose to call it, it's been a bit of a struggle, hasn't it?
It really has.
And it's like, it literally is, some days for you and for us, just days don't go smoothly some days. Okay, so if you are giving all this energy to your Depression Changes Minds and the schools and the people and the parents around you, how do you keep yourself tapped in? Because I think it's really important, especially where this is going to be shown on my social media platforms. I'm very much like, you first, you really have to look after you. So what do you do? What's your go-to, or how do you know when maybe you're starting to have a little bit of a dip and you're in need of a little bit of TLC?
So if I'm really, really honest, I'm in a bit of a dip at the moment. Like right now is one of my moments that I'm really struggling. And I know that I get to this point at the end of term. So the end of the school year, is I've kind of kept going throughout the year, and it really does pull on you emotionally. Day to day, I will make sure that I meditate. Often I'll meditate before I get up, or I'll meditate in the bath, or I'll spend 5 minutes somewhere meditating in the park or something. I also swim. That feels like a meditation to me, just up and down the lanes. I don't want anyone with me. People always say, oh, I'll come swimming. I'm like, I don't really want you there. I just want to go and meditate whilst I swim. And I also, I mean, Sam Hopkins from the group, she's amazing because we talk a lot, and I'm very open with her and very real, and she's really real with me as well, and kind of makes me check in with myself. And actually, over the years, I've kind of learned, because I don't have a base, so I'm all over East London at times, and especially around Tower Hamlets. I whiz around on a bike and from meeting to meeting, and so I don't really stop. And what I realised at the end of last year was that I cannot put more than 3 things in my diary.
Right.
It just can't happen. So if I've got, 3 different meetings, or a forum, or a conference that I need to be at, if I'm at a conference, I can't squeeze that meeting in before the conference or after the conference. And I've really got to give myself some downtime, because although, I used to sit in an office, and I used to be a florist, and I used to be a welfare officer in a school, and so you are constantly doing within those hours of work. But this work is different because it is emotionally draining, and because it's personally emotionally draining for me, because I have that connection to the mental health. It triggers things in me, and I know that I need to take some time to digest what I've either just disclosed, or I've really fought for, or kind of said to someone, or what I've heard from parents. So I need that time, and sometimes it is literally a nap. One of my favourite things to do is come home and nap, just shut my brain down. I'm like a computer, just unplug me for 15 minutes and I can get back up again, and my brain,
I'm going to ask you something. Do you ever feel guilty for doing that?
I used to. I don't anymore. I really used to. I struggled. I kind of used to lie about it and just say, oh, I've got something to do. Now I'm like, I'm going off for a nap for 15 minutes. I don't tell everyone, because not everyone understands it, and I don't need to explain it to everyone.
No, that's true.
But my close friends and my family know that I go for a nap. That's me shutting down for 15 minutes.
I think as well, especially when you're a leader, people look up to you as quite a responsibility.
Yeah, yeah. I kind of, and I suppose I haven't recognised a lot of that until recently, and really kind of looking at, I did a post about, I think it was about 6 weeks ago now, and I just kind of spoke about what went on in May, and how my world had kind of been one thing after another, which was amazing. Like I've won awards. I've been to Buckingham Palace for the awards ceremony, and we had tea there, and I've done all sorts. And 2 parents ran a Hackney half marathon for our charity as well. So there were all these bits and pieces I was doing, and I didn't realise that it was me. It almost felt like it was someone else doing it, and I was kind of just showing up and being the sideline to it all. And a few people kind of spoke to me and were just like, do you realise what you've done? and I have had to ground myself and check in with myself and say, blimey, Marie, come on, like, this is okay, and well done you, and
Absolutely.
give myself a pat on the back occasionally.
Do you find it hard to accept praise?
I'm finding it easier than I used to, but yeah, there are some days that you can't praise me at all. I'll have days where I'm like, doesn't sit well, and I'm like, yeah, whatever, but blah, blah did this and that, you know, and always kind of shoot it somewhere else to someone else being praised. Yeah. But then there are other days that I can say thank you, and that's really important to me. Like that word thank you, when people praise you, we're not really taught to do that.
I think, like, from a personal perspective on what we're just saying, it's hard, isn't it? Because I mean, I was very much brought up like in a really lovely environment, but we didn't talk about ourselves too much, and we didn't put it out there too much. And when you did, like at school, for example, I was a little bit bullied, so it was like, oh, you know, you're not that great, or it's all about you. Yeah. It kind of makes you think, oh no, I better not talk about myself. So what do you do to push your message out there without feeling that you're talking about yourself? How do you look upon it?
So I think how I look upon it, I used to go to, when I first started this 3.5 years ago, I used to go to meetings and feel really intimidated by the professionals in the room. And it was really like, and I'm not taking that, when I say professionals, I'm not taking it away from them, but actually what I'm saying is that I was a professional too, I just didn't recognise it. And what I was a professional in was my son. My son was suffering with a mental health illness. I knew what it was to care for him. I knew what it was to be that parent sat in the waiting room. I knew what it was to be on the other side of that door. And actually, in the room, that means that there are 3 people there, and you're all as important as one another. So my son, who was the client that we were trying to help, you know, he was their client, he's my son. Yeah. And also then there's me, who cares for my son for the rest of the week, not just as a mum, but as a carer, with medication, with, you know, dealing with him being up through the night, not sleeping, not coping with life. And then there's the professional who's looking at it in a therapeutic way and trying to bring some help in that works for them, maybe some medication that works for them. And so actually sitting in a room and realizing that I was a professional too, that I had a voice and that my voice counted as well, was a really big thing for me to recognize. And I now do it because I'm speaking for every other parent, because other parents sit in a room and don't speak up. And I'm grateful that something empowers me to speak up for others. And it really does make me feel like I don't want anyone to be as lonely as I felt in those first few months of dealing with my son. And I never want anyone to feel like that, because it's detrimental to everything. It was detrimental to my son because my own mental well-being was not good. And so it was, you know, it was a bit of a cycle, really.
And is this where everything was born from your son's mental
health? Yes, yeah. So I had postnatal depression. And actually, when my son fell ill, I realised that I was quite a depressed teenager as well, that kind of went by with just me being an awkward little madam and lots of other words that I won't say. But yeah, it was, I recognised that I was suffering with depression then, but I had postnatal depression with both of my sons, and that actually affected my connection with my eldest son in the first year after he was born. And so I kind of, all of that and my son's struggle through this and through the education system, which don't get me started on, but it's all played a part in why I'm doing what I'm doing today.
Fantastic. And with what you're doing, you're clearly making waves in your community, and you're battling for parents, and you're the voice for the people who don't know what to say. And what's the biggest plus, the biggest reward that you get from this, from doing all of this, for the reason why you don't mind showing up every day, the reason why by this time of year you're exhausted? What's the main drive? Is it literally as simple as you just don't want anyone else to feel the way that you did?
But also having parents. So I run like a weekly drop-in parent support group, amongst other bits, but we have parents show up, and when they turn up and talk about their children, and actually what happens is the group support one another. It's very peer-to-peer, and the group support one another. So if we have someone new, we'll all check in and say a little bit about who we are and what our difficulties have been. And suddenly you see a light switch on in that parent, and they literally go, I'm not alone. I'm not alone. Oh my goodness. And I remember that feeling when people started coming to my group, was I'm not alone. I knew I wasn't alone. And just that feeling, and then people saying, thank you so much. And I'm like, I have facilitated this, but that's it. Like, actually, this is all down to us just being empowered enough to know we can say our child has a mental health illness, and you know what? It's not our fault.
Yes.
Like, that's the most important thing. And you know what, parents? It's not about you, because you're not ill. Your child is. And that's like, it's actually got to be separated in that way of.
That's a really good point.
Yeah.
Because I think as parents as well, you know, mums and dads, we do carry a lot of guilt, don't we?
Huge amounts of guilt. And I'm not sitting here saying that I don't ever feel guilty about any of this. You know, with the studies that I've done about mental health, and actually even, you know, recognizing that if you don't, what they're doing studies about of the children not connecting with parents due to lots of different reasons, but one of them being postnatal depression, then that child can be susceptible to mental health illnesses later in life, because the connection was not made.
Yeah.
And their brain develops differently. And so when I found that out and kind of read and heard lots about this, I suddenly thought, oh my goodness, it's all my fault. Like, this is because I had postnatal depression. And I really wound myself up, and then kind of came away and went, oh, for goodness sake, like, you asked for like postnatal depression. Like, please give that to me so that I don't connect with my child. Like, it was, you know, such a ridiculous thing that we beat ourselves up about.
The things as well, it's like something I've been talking about on Breakfast Boost lately as well. I think it was even today. It's about, you know what, things happen for a reason, and our journey brings us to now, and our journey is not to make us feel guilty. It's actually to use our experiences to move forward and help other people, which is exactly what you're doing, and it's what I do. You know, I use my experiences, and doesn't that take the weight off it?
Yeah, it really does, Lisa. And I think for me, I just think, do you know what? Other people have other beliefs, but I believe that my son chose to be with me, and you know, this path was chosen for us. And he's not through, you know, he's not through all of this, but this is his own journey as well. And I think we were brought together for a reason, and actually I'm now trying to help other parents for other reasons. And I do believe that this is a path that was set for me. And if I look back at all of my jobs, it's almost, if you read my CV, you could look at it and go, my goodness, you have literally been set up for this.
Yeah.
Like, everything you've done work-wise has worked towards this path and where you are now.
I totally agree with that 100%. And I think sometimes as well, is it's important to remember the message or the help we can give to people. The message and the help we can give to people is often more powerful and more rewarding than beating ourselves up on the journey along the way. It's like one of my things, as I say quite regularly, if I'm having one of those days, which again, like you, I do, and it is a responsibility having people that look for you to go for guidance, and it really, really is. Let's have the cards on the table. But quite often, okay, who's my message going to help today? Not like, stop feeling sorry for yourself. Who can I help today? And who can this interview help today? Because let's keep it really, really real.
Yeah.
I know you've mentioned about your tidying your house. My house is all over the place. My Wi-Fi's up the spout. Everything's just gone a little bit crazy lately.
Yeah.
But that's real life. And let's just, my floor needs hoovering. My cushions are all over the place. The dog's spilt all his water in the kitchen. This is real life. So the more we're open, and the more we open a conversation about real truth and honesty, people aren't going to feel they're alone on any level.
No.
About keeping it real.
Absolutely. And on Wednesday, I battled with myself to get out of bed on Wednesday, and I was like, I really didn't want to. Just felt like I could really just spend the whole day in bed with the curtains closed and, I don't know, watch stuff on iPlayer or sleep or read a book and just stay there. And some days I do that, because if I'm really feeling like I can't do today, battling with myself is just me getting up and saying all the wrong words to myself, having all the wrong energy with everything that I'm putting into it. But Wednesday I got up, went and spoke at a GP care group, and set something in motion that now is going to be helping children in poverty. And there was something that, I really felt, and it was only me telling a story of, what I've heard from other parents. It wasn't all about me. It was like, actually, that's not how you're going to get through to parents. Yeah. That's not how, parents aren't going to disclose to you that they can't afford to feed their children to a GP because they're worried about social services. And I just kind of brought it really real to them. Yeah. And it's now set a pathway for a different project to happen. So, and
if you hadn't done that, if you hadn't been true to yourself and true to the people, you hadn't been real, and if you had potentially, I'm going to use the word that I used to use, like being ashamed of certain things that had gone, like, there was a time where I had about £10 a week to live off.
Yeah.
Three of us. Talk about it quite openly now, because that makes people feel they belong, they're not alone, and there is hope.
Absolutely. And I said to the GPs, I mean, I'm still kind of working with next to nothing. I do most of this voluntary, so I don't have, a paid role. And I was there and I was being really real. I'm like, my two boys, my oldest one is not well enough and can't financially move out. And the younger one, I don't see him moving out anytime soon either. They can't get a job. I'm supporting them. They're big men and they eat for England. And it's like, and I'm like, actually, all of this is really real to, lots of parents that are struggling to put food on their table and clothes on their children's backs. Yeah. So.
No, it's amazing. And I think as well, I'm just going to give you a little pat on the back, because you inspire me daily, your strength, your courage. and being so open as this, you know, you absolutely inspire me and the rest of all the girls on Breakfast Boost Club. You really, really do.
Thanks, Lisa.
Determination, you know, it really does.
Yeah, I do. I feel very determined at times, and I think probably the biggest thing I could say is that if someone has a passion about something, just follow your passion. Follow your passion, because what's the worst that's going to happen? Like a few doors close in your face. So take a different path. Go down a different path and try and open another door. Like, it's, you know, this didn't come kind of, you know, all set up and I knew everything about children's mental health. This literally came from me feeling pain and loneliness, understanding it, and deciding that I didn't want that for anyone else, and I didn't want to be in that situation anymore. Because actually, you know, I talk about setting this up and supporting other parents, but all of these parents support me as much as I support them at times, because rocking up and hearing them, and they are so truthful and so brave and fight for their children, that actually that gives me so much strength as well. And seeing the teenagers or the young people that are going through this, and they get up daily and put on their face and fight, and, you know, and that makes me hugely proud of anyone that's battling with any of this.
The reason to keep going, isn't it?
Absolutely.
Marie, thank you so much. Can I just, before we finish, can I just ask you for one just quick snippet of advice, if anyone's watching this? Two things actually: where they can find you, and also one little snippet of advice, like a parting word, just to give people a little bit of hope.
So I have a Facebook page called Depression Changes Minds. My email address is dcmuk@mail.com. I don't have a website at the minute. If anyone wants to build me one, you're more than welcome. Just putting it out there. And a snippet: get up every day and just do what you can, what you feel. Really come into yourself and know what you can do, not what others are expecting you to do. And you'll know what you can do and cope with.
Yeah.
And don't do any more than that, because you won't be real to yourself.
Perfect. Thank you so much.
Thank you. It's been lovely talking to you.
What I'll do as well, I'll put all your links because this is going to be uploaded onto YouTube, so I'll put all the links in there, and then we can all share it, and that'll be great. But thank you so much.
Thank you.
Keep shining, keep rising, keep doing what you're doing, and just keep being you, because like I say, you are amazing. Thank you so much.
Thanks, Lise. Lots of love.
Take care.
Thanks, everyone.
See you soon. Bye.
Bye.